Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Brett Tadlock, TN Artist. Today's painting is Night Fliers, and do you spell it with a Y or an I? Anyway, it's interchangeable. I looked it up. So this is a Procreate painting that I've done, and I'm using the oil brush here to kind of roughly lay in the waves. And one of the things you want to do is start with a tinted background for the main color of what your final piece is going to be, and then build on top of that, because that automatically starts giving you the reflections of the atmosphere. So I've taken the oil brush here and am laying in the peaks and the valleys and thinking about how the water is flowing, over itself, and the waves are working together, and trying to get that feel for it. So that's what I've done here. And then after I've kind of got that sculpted in, if you will, with the paint, I go back with the leatherwood and gouache paintbrushes under the smudging setting and start softening everything, because I want this to really be built up in layers. So that's what I'm doing here, is again trying to keep that flow and keep it soft and kind of fading the background, but then thinking about, okay, how would this flow, where would the main interest be, and start kind of laying in some darker points to really kind of again build that contrast and start putting the icing on the cake, if you will. So that's what I'm doing here, is again, I've got that first layer for the general direction of the waves laid out. Taking a darker color, I'm starting to cut in and lay in where the main focal point will be, which is going to be the sunset and that cresting wave in the side there, and start playing around with that and sketching it in and getting a feel for, okay, how do I want this to look overall? How do I want it to flow? And really see what directions I want it to go. And then soften it again in the background so it starts fading away. And so this really does kind of go back and forth between the oil brush and the smudge brushes. Again, like I said, using leatherwood and the gouache brush settings to soften these in. And, the thing with this that I would say one of the main takeaways is when you're playing around with something like this, don't get discouraged. We all hit this point where in a painting where we're like, oh, what am I doing? Why am I doing it this way? I hit that in this painting, to be perfectly honest and transparent. I hit it. I started to give up on it, but I thought, I'm just going to push through it and keep going to get the feel and the look that I want, which is that really, for lack of a better phrase, that juicy oil painting kind of look. So got that done, created a new layer below it so that I could add in the sky colors there. Again, the oil brush, throwing it in there, and then softening all of it with the gouache smudge brush. I wanted the contrast of the clouds going at an angle, so I thought that gave more interest, and then laying in the sun reflecting there. And I was trying to get an idea, okay, do I want to have like a lens flare kind of look and that kind of stuff? The flashing of color you saw there was me looking to see if it looked better with, if it would overlay or not with it. It didn't. And so I just went back to painting it traditionally and smudging in the different colors and the look and the feel of it and softening it. And again, building out the layer and the contrast of it so that I have a nice sun in the background, and I have an idea of where I want the main focus to be and how it's going to reflect across everything. So I kind of had that set up there, but then, coming back to the waves, realizing I wasn't super happy with it. To me, it looked like a weird, almost desert snow scene at this point. So I wanted to soften them even more and play around with the contrasts even more. And then from there, start laying in the highlights to get what I liked better with it. And again, it's just a matter of playing around with it and experimenting with it. Even if you've been painting for a long time, you're still going to go through those stages where you need to experiment and play around. So that's what I was doing here. And then once I got that point, I realized, okay, I like it. I'm starting to see it better and get a feel for it. So I wanted to add in some of the translucence of the water, as it's really going to be hit from this viewpoint. It would really be hit a lot on that wave and poking through that wave and coming through it. Not the stereotypical flow like you would see like in a Bob Ross painting where that eye is really coming across, but again, you would see there. So what I'm doing here is laying in some of the foam for how I want the foam to be. And I knew I needed this little bit softer bluish purple color. And so I laid that across using leatherwood brush, and then went back and started erasing and smearing in some of the colors, and also going in with the oil brush and painting over top of it. Because again, for a painting to succeed, in my opinion, you need to really build up layers of texture and depth with that, and at the same time, be careful you're not muddying it up with textures, but you want to give the eye places to rest. You want to give it clear places to focus on, but you want to have that depth of texture so that it sees that there's a lot going on here at once. And once I started doing that and getting more of a feel for it, to me, it really started coming together more and more. So that's what I'm doing here, is working on that and pushing and pulling. This is honestly about the time when, remember I said a second ago, I got to that point I was struggling with it and kind of getting irritated and stuff. That's this. I was overplaying with it and piddling around and not being clear in my decision making. So I took a little bit of a break, came back to it, and when I did that, that was when everything was kind of cleared up. So don't be afraid to walk away from a painting for a little bit and then come back to it. Especially if you're doing like I'm doing, where you're working in really one or two layers, because I worked in two to set up that background, but then I merged it right down to one. And then started figuring out, okay, how do I want it to look for my focus, which would be this lighting, which would be that coming across, and then I knew I wanted to put in some birds and have them flying in the distance, and really again play around with the wave translucence. And so that's what I was doing here, and started getting it to come together. And again, once you get past that point of frustration, it'll always click and come through. And so that's what you see here, is just keep pushing, playing around with it. Don't be afraid to use the layers and really go after the different look and feel. For me, I've been noticing that I've been going back more and more to traditional painting techniques like I would for oil painting or acrylic painting, and working more and more with fewer and fewer layers. So that's what I was doing here, and really kind of pushing on that to get that look and feel. So it started coming together, and really like I said, I liked it a lot, and liked how it was starting to really congeal and get it. So keep playing around with it, keep pushing on it, and don't be afraid to experiment and play around. Because again, the great thing about it being digital is that it's digital. You're not wasting paint, you're not wasting canvas, you're not wasting anything other than just experimenting, and even you're not wasting your time. You're gonna learn something from it. So just keep pushing with that, and it starts coming together. So just the last little bits of frosting up the cake here, and getting it to look nice, and getting those reflections and those highlights with the pure white, and getting all that, and that really gives that wet feeling to it. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it. Leave me any questions or comments below, and I'll be happy to get back to you on it as soon as I can. And make sure to join the Facebook group, and come over there. And I'm putting these lessons and everything else in there as fast as I can, and some other people are sharing lessons too. So again, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, leave any questions and comments below, and have a fantastic day.